All right, how's everybody doing? Jeremy Langlois coming to you from Houmas House Estate and Gardens. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching our cooking demonstrations. Before we get started, one thing I just want to note, me and Jesse, we put a lot of work into these videos, and we started last year around April. Literally when we started with just her cell phone, and we didn't even have it sideways. We had it this way, and we started doing that. And then over time, we've tried to kind of add to it, and we're doing a whole new setup today. So we would love some feedback from y'all as we go. How do we sound? How do we look? Because we're using an entirely new setup today. We're trying to take 2021 to the next level on our cooking demos. We even have, it's like we're like this fancy schmancy production now. We even got a camera that points down into the pot that you'll see that we'll switch to. So we're really happy that we've upgraded, but also there might be a few little bit of technical difficulties, so let us know what you think as we get going. But with that said, I'm going to go ahead and just start cooking. And as always, at any point through these cooking demos, you got a question, we love interacting with you guys. We've had some great interactions over the last couple weeks. If you got questions and you're watching live, drop them in the comments. Jesse's watching the comments, and we're happy to try to answer them on air. But even I'm checking these videos for the next week out. So as you try these videos, or you try these recipes rather, if you got a question, hit me up in the comments, and I try to respond to all of them as we can. Okay, so what are we cooking today? So today, one thing that, I just love about being the chef here at Houmas House is I love history. So just being here at this historic property, we're just so steeped into history. But I love the history of food as well. I love all food has a story. And one thing I really love doing is finding these old historic recipes and then either recreating them or taking a twist on them. So one thing we're doing today is we're going to be recreating a dish called the Queen Soup. Now, the Queen Soup is a Mardi Gras soup. We're getting into Mardi Gras season here in Louisiana, and while it will be different this year, we're still want to honor and celebrate Mardi Gras, and I hope everyone does as well. I've already eaten several slices of king cake already this year. So the Queen Soup was a soup that was served in the early 1920s at the Degas House on Esplanade, and it was a soup made for the Queen of Rex. Whenever they would have a big celebration, they made this soup, and they called it the Queen Soup, and they would serve it in these large gilded tureens. And what it was this chicken and wild rice soup. Has a lot of French origins in it, and I thought, hey, with it being Mardi Gras season and me loving recreating these classic recipes, this would be a great one to do because I think it makes a fantastic soup. I learned about it from my mentor, Chef John Folse. So let me just catch up on what we've got going on, and we're going to get cooking. So what I have, if you check out our recipe, which is on our website, if you go to houmashouse.com, hit the resource tab, you can pull up our recipe. You'll see on the recipe, it starts with chicken stock, and we have a whole recipe for chicken stock, but I'm not going to get into that, but I have some chicken stock bubbling away here. Again, go ahead, you can make the chicken stock recipe we have online, or if you just go to the store and buy some chicken broth, fantastic, that's going to be perfect. But we went ahead and started heating up about a gallon of this chicken, and then because we're making this wild rice soup, we're actually going to be using two types of rice. We're going to be using wild rice, that's what we have here, you can find in the store. Boom, here's a box that you can find right here. And then this is just your regular this is just Uncle Ben's rice right here. And what I did was, just so everybody's caught up to where we're at, and I can show you, I have my chicken stock, I brought it up to a boil. I then added the wild rice. Wild rice takes a while to cook. It takes about 40 minutes to cook. So I let that cook for 30 minutes, just simmering and stirring it every now and then. And then after the wild rice takes longer to cook than white rice. After 30 minutes, I added the white rice in the recipe, and I let that cook for another 15 minutes. And that's exactly where I'm at right here. So wild rice is cooked for 30 minutes, and then we added the white rice, and so now you have this great chicken stock, and you can see here that we have the rice has now started to cook. So this is going to be the base for our soup. It's nice and hot, and that's just going away. Now, one thing, there is a word for soup in France, but in France, here often in America, we just say, oh, we're having soup, a liquid in a bowl that we eat as a course. But in France, they have different names. Every type of soup has a name. So if you're eating a cream-based soup, well, that's a bisque. If you're eating a soup thickened with a roux, well, that's a velouté. If you're eating a thin brothy soup, That's a consommé. Well, this type of soup is called a potage. And what makes a potage is a soup that's been thickened with rice or grains. So since we're using rice in here, we're making a potage. And this is just classic cooking where you would use the rice as a thickener for the soup. So that's why we're doing what we're doing. So while that's kind of bubbling away, I got some butter here that I'm going to start melting in a separate pot. We're going to get a few things cooking. Now, once you have your stock with your rice all cooked in this pot and it's kind of simmering away, that's the big bulk of the work here. You'll see all this other stuff starts to come together pretty doggone quick. So the first thing we're going to do, let me tell you, not working with a whole lot of ingredients here. You know, it's so weird for me to make a soup without using the classic Louisiana Trinity, but I really wanted to honor this classic recipe, so we're following it to the T. So what we're going to do, what we have is I have some diced carrots right here, and then I have just some diced yellow and red bell pepper. And once we have this butter melted, I'm going to go in. First, I'm going to start with the carrots. Boom, carrots go in. Red bell peppers go in, and a little bit of these yellow bell peppers as well. Now, if you look over in the pot here, you'll see that there's a generous amount of butter that these are cooking with, and that's exactly what we want, because we're just going to let this saute for a few minutes, and then we're going to sprinkle in a little bit of flour to pick up that butter, and that's going to make your classic roux. Now, roux is a thickener for soup, just like we're using rice to thicken this soup. Also, a little flour is going to go in here as well, and that's just going to help the soup thicken and add some body to the soup. Now, one thing when you are cooking with roux, whenever you go to thicken, you always want to make sure whatever you're cooking is boiling. Roux, just like cornstarch, if you ever add cornstarch as a thickener, oftentimes with these thickeners that you add to sauces and soups, they don't reach their thickening potential until it boils. So if I were to add roux to this and then not bring it up to a boil, where it's not going to thicken, you actually need it to come up to a rolling boil for the thicken. So again, we got our carrots, our bell peppers, simmering away in a little butter, and watch, I'm just going to start shaking in some flour. Add a little bit of flour, mix it in. Now, of course, if you go on our website, it'll tell you the exact measurements, but because I just go by feel oftentimes with cooking, I add enough flour. I just keep sprinkling flour until I absorb all that butter. So once I see that my pan has actually gotten a little dry, well, now I know I have enough flour in here, and I can stop adding flour because it's been picked up. And that's exactly, maybe one more little shaky shake, and that's exactly what we got going on here. Oh, man. And you know, I love doing these soups like this, and just already, just adding the carrots as a base for this soup with these bell peppers, it gives it a little bit of a different kind of aroma and flavor than a lot of our traditional Louisiana cuisine, which starts off with onion, celery, bell pepper, garlic. So I'm already kind of liking the fact that it's got a little bit of difference to it. And then you can see here, as we start to mix it up, well, that flour has now acted to make a roux. So it's soaked up all that butter, whereas we had a nice little pool of butter in there before. You can see the flour has picked all that up. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come back. I'm actually going to switch to a whisk. And what I'm going to do, I have my stock with my rice simmering away, and I'm just going to start adding, with the rice, I'm just going to start adding a ladle of that stock, one ladle at a time with that rice, and then I'm just going to whisk it in. And you'll see, because we're adding one at a time and the pan's hot, look what it's doing. It's instantly thickening and it's instantly boiling. And that's exactly what we're looking for. So again, another ladle, and I'm going to keep adding, and you can still see, my second ladle, this is still real thick and goopy. I still have a ways to go. I need to thin that down, so I'm just going to keep adding my stock until it gets to that beautiful, velvety, soup-like consistency. So we're almost there. Let's get another one in there. Bring that up to a boil. And again, this is why we're cooking on that nice high heat. One more ladle. And now, boom, I think that's what we are looking for. So now you can see, I can switch back to my spoon. The reason I like switching to a whisk whenever I'm stirring something in is that's kind of for safety. If you use a spoon, oftentimes with a spoon when you're trying to whisk something in, the whisk helps incorporate your ingredients, but also you can get with spoons, it tends to splash and you have that hot liquid come on you, and we don't want that. So look how nice this looks now, guys. And now you got that beautiful velvety soup, and look, it's all about how thick do you want it. I see I can use just a little more liquid, so I'm going to add another hit of stock to it, and that's what we're going to do. So now, And if all of a sudden you were to see, so you can thin it down, or if it's too thin, well, you can make a little roux on the side and add that in. But if you add it in one step at a time, you don't have to worry about that. Now, this is the main base for the soup. We would just want to simmer that for a few minutes, and now we're ready to start adding a little bit of seasoning to it. And let me show you what we got. So first of all, I have some cooked off. This is a chicken wild rice soup. So here's our chicken. So since we made the chicken stock from chicken, well, the cooked chicken, we just took that meat and diced it up, and I'm going to add this right into it. Now, let me tell you one, I always love sharing with you guys little tricks that, for someone at home, that makes life easier. This is a pro tip that definitely give a try. You know, oftentimes at grocery stores, they have those pre-roasted rotisserie chickens. Man, is that great if you wanted to do something like this, where what you could do is you could buy one of those pre-roasted chickens, pull the meat off of it, chop that up, save that. Well, now you have this roasted chicken carcass left over. Well, that's fantastic. You could put that chicken right in here, that chicken carcass right in a pot, cover it with water, add some onions and garlic, let it boil for about 45 minutes. Boom! You just eliminated a whole step. You got a good chicken stock made from that, and you got your meat for your soup. So that's just one tip you can do at home. But we're going to come back, add a little bit of that chicken. Now, as the soup starts to cook, I'm going to season it always. A little salt, a little black pepper. If you don't want those little black specks from your pepper, while that doesn't bother me, one thing you can always do, a little hot sauce can substitute for that black pepper, or white pepper just kind of goes and blends in nice. I want to add some herbs to here. I have here some sliced chives, which are fantastic, going to give a great onion flavor and having that nice color. And then I got some herbs here as well, y'all. This is sage and this is thyme. So with thyme, what I like to do is I just like to take, the stem itself is a little fibrous, but I just like to pluck off some of the actual green leaves right off of the fibrous part. You don't want the stem part because it is a little too fibrous. You want to be able to chew through it, but you're just looking for the green. You can pluck that off. And then for the sage, I'm going to rip off a couple leaves of these sage. Now, one thing, you know, when it comes to herbs, here, let me move this so you guys can see. I'm just going to quickly, oftentimes with herbs, I like to just, the less you can mess with them, the better. And the reason for that is, see how I cut this? But if you look at my cutting board, there's no like green on here. Now, if I were to really go crazy chopping up those herbs, well, I can get nice minced up herbs like that. But all that green, I want y'all to think about this, all that green, that's oils and that's flavor that has gone down into your cutting board. And I want to capture as much flavor as possible. So by being a little more gentler with the herbs, then we can just put that right into there, and we can capture all that flavor. So again, we have fresh sage, fresh thyme, some sliced chives. We got the chicken with the carrots. And man, look at this soup. Look how great this is. Fantastic. Now, just to finish it off right at the end, this is the base for the soup. The flour and the rice is the actual thickener for the soup, and then the stock is the base. But just to give it a little creaminess and a little body, look, not much at all. That's what, maybe half a cup? Look, that much. I'm going to add a little bit of heavy whipping cream, and I'm going to mix that in, and that's going to give this soup a nice richness and make it just a little more creamy, but it's not going to be too heavy because we just put a splash of that cream in here, so it won't be too, if this whole soup was cream-based, that's going to be a really rich soup. But it's not. It just has a little splash, and that's all you need to just add some nice body to that soup right at the end. Now, this soup is... I see Jessie's waving her hand. What you got, Jess?
There's much debate happening on this feed.
Go on.
About why does the chicken cross the kitchen? Friend, the chicken behind you.
Oh, well, what about him?
Why does he cross the kitchen?
I don't know what's going on with that chicken. He's just watching. Making sure we're doing everything right, making sure we honor all these ingredients. But so as we finish up, I think we got everything in here. We got our seasoning. We got our fresh herbs. This is how simple this soup can come together. This is a fantastic... We'll be serving this at Houmas House all day tomorrow, Friday. We'll also be serving it all day Saturday as well at the restaurant. This is a great dish to kind of honor our roots of our Mardi Gras history. This was a classic dish. And man, we love recreating some of these historic dishes. So just to plate it up, we're going to go right into a bowl. And man, this is something you don't have to cook for too long. The hardest part is just getting that stock and getting that rice cooked, y'all. And then once you get to that part, you can come over to your side pot and this soup comes together really, really fast. So again, just a couple things happening here at Houmas House as we wrap this up. Valentine's Day is coming up very quick and we're starting to get some good reservations come in. So please check our Facebook page for information and menus about what we're doing here for Valentine's Day. We'll be running a special Valentine's menu. The 14th is actually a Sunday, so that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we'll be celebrating Valentine's Day all that Valentine's Day weekend with a special menu, so definitely tune into that. Jess, what you got, Jess?
Also tell them it's under the upcoming events page on our website.
Perfect, yeah. Of course, houmashouse.com is a great resource for a lot of things going on here. You can go to our upcoming events section of our website. We'll have information and menus posted about that as well. But guys, I'm talking to you out there. Make your reservations early and often because we will probably, as we get closer and closer to that date, I'm sure we'll start to fill up. And we'd love to have you out. But, that is, with it being Valentine's Day, one of our busiest days of the year. So again, thank y'all so much for tuning in. In the comments, let us know how we look. How do I look? How do I sound? And also give this recipe a try. Would love to know what you think. Thank y'all so much, and we'll see you next week.